If you could drain the ocean and look at the front of a massive cargo ship, you would see a giant, awkward metal nose sticking out right at the bottom. It looks completely wrong. It looks like a giant mistake that should slow the ship down and drag it backward. But if engineers cut this giant nose off, the ship would suddenly require massive amounts of extra fuel just to travel at the exact same speed. When we think of fast things moving through water, we think of sharp shapes. We think of a sword cutting through silk. Yet the largest, heaviest vehicles built by humans push a giant, blunt dome directly into the oncoming waves. It makes no sense on the surface. But underneath the water, this bizarre shape is actually playing a brilliant trick on the ocean itself. To understand why this works, we first need to look at what happens when a normal object moves through water. When a boat moves forward, it has to shove water out of its way. That water has to go somewhere, so it piles up at the front. This creates a massive wave right at the nose of the ship. We call this the bow wave. For a tiny speedboat, this wave isn't a big deal. But for a massive cargo ship carrying thousands of heavy metal containers, that wave turns into a literal wall of water. The ship is no longer just gliding through the ocean. It is actively trying to push a mountain of water ahead of it, and it is constantly trying to climb up its own wave. This creates a massive amount of resistance. In fact, fighting this wall of water eats up to half of the ship's entire engine power. For a long time, engineers thought the only solution was to build bigger, louder, more expensive engines to brute force their way through the sea. But back in the early 1900s, a clever naval architect noticed something fascinating while testing miniature boat models in water tanks. He realized that if you put a rounded bulge underwater right ahead of the ship, it creates a second, completely separate wave. This is where the magic happens, and it works just like noise-canceling headphones. Think about how noise-canceling headphones work. They listen to the background noise, create an opposite sound wave, and the two sounds crash into each other and disappear into silence. Water waves work the exact same way. Every wave has a high point called a crest and a low point called a trough. When the ship moves, the big main hull tries to make a giant high point. But at the exact same time, the underwater nose is creating a low point. Engineers design the nose so perfectly that the low point of the nose wave fills in the high point of the main wave. They perfectly smash into each other. The two waves cancel each other out. The water ahead of the ship suddenly becomes flat and smooth. Because the ship doesn't have to climb over a mountain of water anymore, it slices through the ocean effortlessly, saving up to 15% on fuel. So if this underwater nose is so incredible, why doesn't every single boat have one? Why don't jet skis or small fishing boats use them? Because this trick only works under very strict conditions. It is a highly specialized tool. For the two waves to cancel each other out perfectly, the ship must be moving at one specific, constant speed, and the nose must be completely underwater. If a small boat is constantly speeding up, slowing down, and bouncing up and down on the waves, the timing gets ruined. Instead of canceling the wave out, the nose might actually make the wave bigger. It would create massive drag and waste an immense amount of energy. This is why the Bulbous Bow is exclusive to the giants of the ocean. Cargo ships and massive cruise liners travel in straight lines across the globe at the exact same speed for days at a time. So next time you see a massive ship cutting effortlessly through the water, remember that it isn't just pushing through the ocean, it's also creating its own waves.